Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my July reading wrap up. I read 16 books in the month of July. Honestly, it was a great reading month. We're moving to the floor because I don't feel like sitting in a chair. Okay, let's start with discussing the fact that I did a designated TBR for this month, which I did not complete. I did a video a month ago where the TBR jar picks my reads for the month of July. I followed it for the most part, but I definitely didn't read 3 of the books on there. I'm not gonna force myself to read books, okay? I was into it at the beginning in the first half, but this past week when I thought I would get through the rest of them, I was like, I'm not feeling it. I am feeling like a, what is it called? Not a vibes reader, mood reader. I was feeling very much like a mood reader. I didn't read Addicted after all. I didn't read Fuel the Fire. I thought I would be in the mood to read a little bit more of the Addicted series. I will eventually read it. I was not in the mood. That's okay. I started Once Upon a Broken Heart. Okay, no one yell at me. No one yell at me. I think it was just a little too YA for me. I might give it another shot in the future. And I think I mentioned in a past video, maybe in the past couple weeks, that, did I talk about this a little bit? If I did, then I'm gonna repeat myself. I think I said I'm gonna wait until I read the Carlisle series. I've been thinking about it a little bit more and I don't even know if I'm gonna do that. I might in the future, but it'll be a while. I just don't really have any interest to start it up again. I think I got 75 pages into it and it was just a little YA for me, like a little too much. Just wasn't like, it wasn't working with me. It could be right book, wrong time, okay? So I didn't read those 3 on my TBR, but the rest of the books from that video, I did read. That being said, the first book that I read in the month of July was Alpha Inmate. What I didn't know is that this book is a part of the Omegaverse, which I am behind. That's what I'm coming to find out. I didn't know what the Omegaverse was until this book. Well, I finished it and I was like, okay, I rated it. Oh my goodness. I read it so fast. I read it in a night, I'm pretty sure. I think I started it like 6 o'clock, finished it later that night. I believe it's under 300 pages, so it's a very short and fast read. I don't think the Omegaverse is personally for me. I didn't hate it. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about this book. I rated the book 2 stars, but also I am confused on what I should rate it because I literally couldn't put it down. But it wasn't great. I don't know. The FMC is an Omega, whatever the f that means. I don't know. And she goes to work for like this maximum prison that's in the middle of nowhere. And apparently the Omegas, I don't know anything about the Omegaverse. Apparently the Omegas have like a lot of discrimination against them, so when she gets there to work, first off, she applies for this job pretending she's a man. So she gets there and they're like, oh, like you're a woman and you're an Omega, and then this other guy working there is like, you're an Omega. And I'm like, is that discrimination? Is it, what the f is going on? And apparently she has to work with like the alphas. And so she meets this alpha. I hate that this is the first book that I'm talking about, but I'm trying to go in order here. She meets this prisoner. And he's an alpha and he's like, shit. And he's like, she's mine. This is the look of defeat. And I'm like, she's yours? She becomes like a therapist for this alpha inmate. It's only the title of the book. And I'm sure you can guess what goes on from there. Anyways, couldn't put it down. Do I recommend? Not really, but to each their own. The next book that I read was the first 5-star book of the month, and it was Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. This was my book club's pick for the month of July. This is the second Hazelwood book that I've ever read. I read The Love Hypothesis last year. I think that might have been right book, wrong time, and I think I was like in a weird place when I read it. I want to reread it because I absolutely adored this, but I don't remember absolutely adoring The Love Hypothesis, so I need to give that another shot. This was so funny, kind of, not necessarily cringy, but there's definitely parts in like Hazelwood books where you're like, galaxy leggings? Like, not that, but it's kind of like that type of humor or wording where you're like, ooh, I don't relate, but we're gonna skim over that and pretend like I didn't see it. I love this book. I love a woman in STEM. I am a woman in STEM. I was a woman in STEM. Look at that degree. Actually, you can't see her. Women in STEM! Rival physicists collide in a vortex of academic feuds and fake dating shenanigans in this delightful STEMinist rom-com. There's this girl named Elsie, and she kind of fake dates people for money, and her favorite client, who she like continually fake dates over and over again, the MMC in this book is that client's brother, who's also, he's a man in STEM. He's like this very profound and known experimental physicist who's like there and is on the hiring team for the job she wants. And she's like, he hates me. And I'm like, he hates you. It was kind of enemies to lovers, but not really. It was more like dislike to lovers. But him, from the beginning, he was always very interested in her. So is that enemies to lovers? I don't know. She dislikes him. He's like, why do I like this girl? She's kind of cute. The next two books that I read these in a reading vlog, so I'm not going to talk too much about them, but I did read the first books in the Boys of Tommen series, Binding and Keeping 13. I am going to read the next two, but I love this series so much and I feel so connected to the characters, so I don't want to rush finishing those last two because the rest of the series is not out yet. So I'm not trying to rush anything. I have Saving 6 and Redeeming 6. I don't know if they're in that order. That I'll read probably in August or September. These two were wonderful. I believe I rated both of them 4.5 stars. I love Johnny and Shannon. I was definitely really worried going into these books that it would be too YA for me because they are high schoolers. No. While they are young, it touches on very deep and honestly really sad topics. Didn't feel YA at all. Does this book feel like a Bible? Yes. Is it the size of a Bible? Almost. But it's worth it. And if you're concerned about the size, get it on Kindle. It'll go by so fast. Next, I read Thrive by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is the next book in the Addicted series. I think I rated this book 3.5 stars. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. This book was basically Kiss the Sky and Hothouse Flower, but from Lily and Lo's point of view. I don't really think I needed an entire book already knowing everything that happened just from their point of view. So I kind of got bored a little bit through it. I love Lily and Lo, but apparently not that much to where I needed a whole book of stuff I already knew, but from their point of view. Following Fox. Okay, I talked about Picking Peaches either last month or the month before in my reading wrap up. It's a very cute kind of small town mindless read. And if you don't want to think and you just want to have a good time, I do recommend it. And I recommend this interconnected series. Picking Peaches, I don't remember the MMC in that book, but I know that in Following Fox, it follows that MMC's twin brother Reed. So we get to see the twin brother in this book fall in love, and the FMC just got cheated on by her fiance and like moves back to this small town, and she opens up a bookstore right next to Reed's restaurant. That dynamic is so cute. Little restaurant owner, and she's like, I'm gonna revamp my grandmother's bookstore that has shut down ever since she died. And I'm like, I want to open a bookstore. Next, we're getting into all the books that I read in another reading vlog, kind of reading out of my comfort zone for a week. I read Tender as a Flesh, 4-star book. Gross, but I really liked it. It's kind of a dystopian horror book. The humans can no longer eat animal meat. It's kind of become poisonous. So as a way to have population control and also not eat animal meat, they started eating humans. Special meat. Then I read Then She Was Gone. I believe I gave this 3.5 stars. This woman's daughter goes missing, and then 10 years later she meets this man in a cafe and they start dating, and his daughter resembles her daughter who went missing like to a T. And so it basically just follows this mom. Actually, it doesn't just follow the mom. It jumps POVs. It's from third person kind of following the mom, and then it jumps to first person for a few different characters later in the book. It was just a really chill thriller. I liked the storyline. I can't say the plot twist or what was supposed to be the plot twist, like nothing, it wasn't anything that I didn't see coming. Then I read Lock Every Door. I think I gave this book 3.5 stars too. This is also like a thriller mystery on the chill side as well. The plot twist in it, while it wasn't absolutely riveting, I didn't see it coming. But I did feel like this book was really slow. This girl is house sitting this really expensive, prestigious apartment, and just a bunch of creepy things keep going on. And then her neighbor, who's also apartment sitting, disappears, and she's like, what the f is going on? And I was like, what the f is going on? And what I can say is I did not expect that to be going on. Then I read Keep Her Safe. Do I own this book? If you liked Twisted Games, I recommend this one. What did I rate this book? It's free on Kindle Unlimited. I rated it 4 stars. This girl needs a bodyguard. She's like a famous actress in Hollywood, and when she's 18, she gets this bodyguard. The tropes are bodyguard, but also age gap. I think he's like 10 years older than her, and he's her bodyguard for 5 years before anything happens. Like there's that tension there, but then she starts dating someone long term. Her bodyguard is so obsessed with her. Not gonna lie, the ending threw me for a loop. I didn't expect that to be, not necessarily, I don't think it was a 3rd act breakup, but I think it was more of like just the conflict at the end. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? But I liked it. Then I read 3 more books in my 24-hour reading challenge this month. Tragic Bonds, Fix Her Up, and Out on a Limb. Out on a Limb, 6 out of 5 star book. Pregnancy trope, friends to lovers. The best book you'll probably read for this year. It was so good. Fix Her Up, 3 stars, 3.25 stars. It was all right. It's about a clown and an ex-baseball player. Yes. Tragic Bonds, another book in the Bonds That Tie series. Fun dystopian fantasy. Nothing absolutely spectacular. Gave this book 3 stars. The last 2 books that I read this month, I read more of Hannah Bonam Young's books, the author that wrote Out on a Limb. Next of Kin and Next to You. They were so cute. Next of Kin was under 300 pages. I do wish there would have been an additional like 100 pages added to this book, and I probably would have given it 5 stars. I gave both of these 4 stars, I believe. I'm trying to figure out how to explain Next of Kin well. So the FMC ends up adopting her little sister who was just born by her mother, who she doesn't really communicate with because the FMC was adopted by another family. Her mother's kind of doesn't have her shit together, whatever. She gets a call one day and it's like, your mother just gave birth, your birth mother. And she's like, what the f? Why? How? What's gonna happen with the baby? She takes in the baby. The only way that she can like financially support herself is if she moves in with another person that was recommended to her who is also adopting his sibling. So she moves in with this guy. So her and Warren move in together because Warren is trying to adopt his little brother. She's adopting her little sister. It financially makes sense for, I don't know if this is actually a thing. They described Warren in the book as looking like he just came out of like prison break because he has a buzzed head and he's pretty grumpy. Warren, I am in love with you. The moment he told Chloe like his feelings, that man was a faucet. He just could not shut up about like how much he liked her. And she's like, what? And he's like, no, I like you. And I was like, oh my God. I thought he would be so closed off, but guess what? This man goes to therapy. He goes to therapy. He does have anger issues and he did punch a wall. However, I forgave him. I forgave him. So you'll probably be able to forgive him too. It's okay. It's not like real life where a man punches a wall and we're like, Jesus Christ. It's like, I kind of understood why he punched the wall. I forgave him, so you can't do it. It's fine. Okay, the next book in this interconnected standalone series, Next to You. Friends to Lovers. I swear this book was written about me 3 years ago, and I won't shut up about that. Lane is an anxious girl. An anxious girl. She kind of has no direction with her life, so she buys a school bus to renovate and turn into a home. Me 3 years ago, still anxious girl, but me 3 years ago was anxious girl who had no direction with her life and bought a school bus to turn into a home. I didn't have Matt to help me renovate my school bus. It was just me and occasionally my dad. Shout out to my dad. Matt is a mechanic with Warren, the MMC from Next of Kin. Matt's love language is acts of service. And so I loved this book because the way I feel loved the most is when people do acts of service for me in like the littlest ways. And that is how Matt loves people. And so watching him just like take care of the littlest things and occasionally like big things throughout this book, he would just drop anything and do things for Lane. And I was so in love with him. He was great. I do think Lane should have had to grovel a little bit more at the end, but overall, loved the book. Cute friends to lovers. And I related a little bit too hard to Lane, and that was really scary. Okay, my favorite book I read this month. I don't think I have just one. We're gonna pick 2. Out on a Limb and Love Theoretically. Both of these were 5-star reads for me. Please read them. and give me your thoughts. Those are all the books that I read in the month of July, and thank you guys for watching today's video. I'll see you next week.